Welcome to Registered, the podcast of the Catholic Register, where we'll be taking a look beyond the headlines of the stories that graced all of our platforms this past week. I'm Mickey Conlon, editor of the Register, alongside associate editor Quinton Amundson and reporter Luke Mandato. This week's episode is brought to you by Missions and Martyrs, the Catholic Register's new magazine celebrating 100 years of the Martyrs Shrine in Midland, Ontario. Go to catholicregister.org/shrine100 or call 1-855-441-4077 extension 1 to order your copy today. Well, guys, finally summer is here. I'm pretty sure you're happy about that. I know I am. And so are so many people who turn their attention to golf, the most frustrating game on the planet. But it's one game that seems that half the Canadian population just can't get enough of. I don't know how much you guys get out if you play at all. I know, Luke, I have played around with you at the old Share Life golf tourney a couple years back. So far this year, one round for me, just 9 holes. I can't do any more because if I did, I'd likely kill myself out of the frustration. But there are some people who are much better at the game than others. And Luke, you spoke this week with one of those people. That would be Father Rich Conlin. He's no relation to me. He's a priest of the Vancouver Archdiocese who just happens to be a pretty darn good golfer. But God had other plans for him. Luke, why don't you tell us about Father Rich and his spiritual take on the game and his own journey?
Yeah, thanks, Mickey. This was a pretty incredible story. It's not too often you get to talk to someone who had one foot in the priestly life and another foot very close to professional golf. So I connected with Father Rich. He was speaking at an event in Archdiocese of Vancouver. But come to find out, he is actually a very renowned golfer. As you mentioned, he excelled. He told me that growing up, all he wanted to do was be like Tiger Woods. And I guess if we look at his age now, that would make sense, when Tiger Woods was all the rage. So this is a guy that really had no intention of a vocation to the priesthood. Golf was sort of all consuming in his life, as he described it. It was sort of an idol and a god to him. It defined his identity, his happiness, his purpose. And for good reason, Mickey. He excelled. He was a NCAA Division One scholarship recipient to St. Mary's in California. He golfed with Team Canada's national golf team for the juniors. And he was really on top of the world. He said, when golf was good, life was good. But he very soon came to realize that when golf was bad, life was bad. And I think we know, as golfers ourselves, that it's pretty often that golf can be bad. So that's not a great attitude to have towards the game if you're staking your entire happiness on it. So after stepping away from sort of this world of semi-competitive and professional golf, that's when Father Rich really encountered the Lord. On the advice of his mother, he went to confession for the first time in 5 years. And that's what sort of kickstarted this conversion and this vocation to the priesthood. So a couple of years later, in 2020, he was ordained to the Archdiocese of Vancouver. He now pastors at St. Matthew's Parish in Surrey and also serves as a local school chaplain there. But when we had our chat for this article, we really just talked about what it's like. Is there any sort of similarities or parallels that you found between the world of professional golf and the priesthood? And he said there's actually many. He believes golf is a game that really mimics the faith. He says prayer for us as Catholics can be sort of our practice. Maybe that's our short game practice. Maybe that's us at the driving range, honing our skills for the game of life, as he calls it. Of course, we know golf is a sport with radical honesty about yourself required. So he says golf is something that really reveals character, where faith is something that can reveal it, but also build it. And of course, he touched on the point of consolation. We all know that one good shot. And Mickey, if we want to talk about the Share Life golf tournament, I maybe had one good shot all day out there, but it was that one shot that made me think, you know what, I see why people do this. And he said God can give us those little consolations, those little moments of encouragement as well that sustain us along the way. So it's all really about proper ordering, is the way he put it. Golf is a place of encounter. Golf can lead us to understand things about our faith life better, but it shouldn't really be that idol or that God in of itself. And a prime example I'm sure we'll talk about is number one golfer in the world right now, Scotty Scheffler, is a devout Christian. And he said that although he's number one at golf, golf is not number one to him. Christ is number one to him. And hey, you can't argue it with his playing style. So it was a great talk.
It seems to be working for Scotty. He's he tears up the course every week. He's in contention every week. So, but it must be nice being able to, all right, I get off the course and I can leave it all behind me. Which I know from trying to master this game before, when I was taking it a lot more seriously. It drove me nuts because it would stay with me the whole time. I just stunk that day. I shot 115 or something, and it's like it would eat me and eat at me for days almost. So, which is why I don't even keep score anymore. I just go out and hit the ball. So
that's the way you got to do it. Well, I asked him. I said, if our editor Mickey puts Christ first, will he play like Scotty Scheffler? And that's the only question on the day he didn't have an answer to. I think he knew what the answer was, but he didn't tell me what it was. But we could try.
Okay.
We could try.
Maybe I should have a call with him. Maybe he can straighten me out on that. So, well, I don't know about you guys, but I know that the teachers I had in high school, the wonderful, the Spirited Fathers from Neil McNeil here in Toronto. They were big golfers, and they always let you know, and they find a way of getting it into the course. So as I guess there's always been a big connection between the faith and golf. So how about you guys? Quinton, do you even play golf, or did you?
I'm just very content listening to my dad exaggerate his ability on the golf course. I think I could see through his bravado very closely, but he has had some really good days, and I'm just content with that. Like, I've never really had the, lure to get out there, but I do get a sense of, definitely the serenity that could come from that when you're in that zone, in that place. And it's really cool to hear some of our elite athletes, top of the world right now, using their platform to talk about faith. But nope, never felt the draw. I will let my father, Ron Amundson, be the golfer in my family. And he's a retired guy. He gets out there basically 4 or 5 times a week during the summer. So he'll golf enough for all of us in our family.
There
so
you
good
go.
for him.
There you go. I will say, when you mentioned the serenity, and just walking, and it always seems on a Sunday, on you're walking that last hole, and you just feel that there's something about a Sunday golf round that's just there. It's more serene than it is any other day. So that's always one of the nice things that I found about playing. But it helped. It helped ease the pain from the previous 9 or 18 holes that I just played. So, how about we turn to the real world? And I can already hear the golfers yelling, "What could be more real than golf?" Hey, read the story on Father Rich, CatholicRegister.org. So, but in the real world, Quinton in particular, you've been delving regularly into AI and how the church and its agencies are adapting to it. And this week, you spoke with a couple of Catholic social service agencies who are looking at AI and how it can help them better serve their clients. Some interesting things came out of that conversation.
Thanks, Mickey. We really looked at how it could help the process of newcomers to Canada. So Catholic Cross-Cultural Services and Catholic social services in Edmonton are really in the process of various AI pilots. Of course, Catholic Cross-Cultural Services are already using Microsoft Pilot as a 3-year trial, and they want it to take off more of the operational and administrative tasks so that ideally Catholic Cross Cultural Services staff could get out into the community and really liaise with people in need. So they served about 50,000 people a year, and that already has, with all their various administrative things that they have to do. So if AI could free up a lot of time, how many more newcomers to Canada in a city like Toronto can Catholic Cross Cultural Services be there for? They may just have the ability to go into more remote areas of the city and expand their footprint if AI is able to do a lot of the record keeping and putting together reports and all the other various bureaucratic and administrative stuff that really kind of sometimes ties us down and chips away at our day. And Catholic Cross Cultural Services are doing one thing with that, but Catholic Social Services, they're already getting into how AI could be good for translation and cultural dialogue. So they're starting to use it to facilitate conversations with people that do not speak English very well. And they're already workshopping various scenarios where they're interacting with people with a first language other than English, and they're just going to get more and more complex with the scenarios where they're dialoguing with newcomers. So, of course, dialogue reduces barriers, it creates bridges, and that's what helps assimilate people into our Canadian culture and makes them feel very comfortable with being new Canadians. So they're just at really the tip of the iceberg. And I think within a few months from now, we're going to hear some really interesting things about how they're using AI in their day-to-day life.
Well, the one thing that you hear so much about the AI and the fears is how it's going to eliminate the human factor in work. And I like the one thing that came out of your story was, and in fact, you put it right up at the top, and they said, "Look, this isn't going to cost anyone their jobs. Basically, it's going to enhance them." And you said that through the administrative, the little mundane things that takes up so much of people's time. Well, maybe AI can take that, and then the more important things, the human touch can do that. And I think that gets lost a lot so far in the whole AI conversation. What do you guys think?
Well, the good news is that you have this guy who is leading the refugee department with the Catholic Social Services, Eoin Murray. And he is a papal encyclical junkie, he told me. So he likes to go out there and get any sort of guidance of what the Pope has to say. And so he is a big fan of Magnificat Humanitas and the Pope's guidance that there needs to be a dignity of human work that needs to be safeguarded. And this guy really takes it seriously. And Claudio Ruiz at Catholic Cross Cultural Services is also doing the same. They don't want to get rid of people. They see the value in human work. And the only thing that may change is these organizations are going to be like, well, if you really want to distinguish yourself in the world of AI, you need to really put yourself out there and, meet with the people and do this premium, put a premium on the work that AI will just never be able to do. AI is not sentient. AI is not empathetic the way that a human being could be. And I don't, it'll never be that way, no matter how sophisticated it could become. So the more you put yourself out there to be a servant to the people, which is, by the way, what Christianity is all about, you're gonna acquit yourself very well in this new landscape we're in. Luke, what's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I think you're right, Quinton. The conversation is no longer yes AI or no AI. So I think as much as a lot of people are kind of trying to steer things away from AI, I think that has passed. Like 10 years ago would have been the time to have that conversation. When the Pope is writing encyclicals on AI, it's now a matter of what is the best way to use this? How can we optimize this? How can we ensure the human touch isn't lost? So those are the conversations we need to be having. It's no longer yes or no. I think we've tipped into the yes far enough that it's now about, okay, what do we do about it? And to see places like this taking advantage of that and keeping, the human element at the forefront. I said many times on this podcast, I don't see an issue with that. I think that's a good thing. It's when you get too far to the other side, when it's being done out of mere convenience, that it becomes an issue. In my mind, that's what I think.
Yeah. So, and the fear factor is something that's come up in our coverage over the past months, and I guess we've got to get by that fear factor of it, because hey, it's here. Let's put it to good use, and for the good use of humanity as a whole, for the church as a whole. So it seems to be, hopefully, there's people out there that are turning it up that path. So, well, I guess we're going to have to talk next about, what would that be? What's going on in Canada now? Oh, yeah, right, that World Cup. And we've put plenty of focus on the World Cup. Lots of good old Catholic boys playing in it for our squad. And kudos to our guys yesterday, even though they were defeated 2-1 by the Swiss. They took second place in their group and will be advancing to the group, the next round, the round of 32. So they're taking on this Sunday South Africa. And I'll tell you, I feel pretty good about their chances. So we will see what's going on. So I know, it'd be great. It would be quite phenomenal if they make it to the round of 16 then. But, they've done quite well getting to where they are now. But you know what? We got some other special athletes in action. And Quinton, I know you are doing a little piece on them this week.
Well, and it should be on the Catholic Register a little bit later today, once we get the photos from our friends from the Toronto Catholic District School Board that put on the Aspire Games, which hosted over 150 athletes on Tuesday at York University's Toronto Track and Field Center. So this is a really cool event. 10 schools with athletes with living with special needs that really don't get the same level of visibility with the annual Toronto, track and field events that high school does. So this is awesome. I mean, they do javelin, they do the shot put, they, do all the classic events, and they are just basking in, the whole FIFA World Cup branding. And what a great time when we are just being united by sports. And there is just something so beautiful about watching any athlete, but especially, one with special needs. It just brings a lot of emotion to people in the crowd, for teachers, for parents that get to see their young son and daughter achieve something remarkable. And they are really wanting to bask in this inspirational energy that the World Cup team is. You have to consider the fact that Team Canada scored a grand total of 2 goals in their previous 8 World Cup games in 1986 to 2022. And, the very week where these kids came together, they are seeing these guys on the world stage score 8 goals in 3 games. I mean, you think that Jonathan David alone scored more goals than the entire team did in 1986 to 2022. They're seeing these heroes do some awesome things on the soccer court, and they kind of want to channel that energy as they go and do these track and field events. And I can tell you, like, Knights of Columbus do similar events for, athletes with, special needs. We, of course, know the legacy of the Special Olympics. Really awesome when you see that sports, it just elevates others. It's not only the people at the highest level that could be aspirational, it's these kids could be pretty aspirational too.
Well, the best thing about watching the Special Olympics and the special needs athletes in action is, sure, they're like anyone, they want to win. But when it comes down to the end of the game, everyone is a friend. And you've seen them, if you've ever seen them in action. I used to work out at Variety Village, which is just around the corner from me here, and it's lots of the special needs athletes there, and it's just absolutely beautiful to watch. You're in the middle of your workout, and you just have to stop. And you're watching if it's a floor hockey game, or they're playing soccer, or they're playing some basketball, and just you marvel at how they're the sportsmanship and everything with them, and they're just having an absolute blast. And hey, if I win, great. If I don't, I got my buddies with me.
Yeah, it is. I've always said this, and it's so touching to see it. It is the distillation of everything that we love about sports and everything that is good about sports. As you said, Mickey, it's leadership, it's sportsmanship, it's respect, it's fun, it's teamwork, it's everything that we see. Like Quinton, you said, on the grandest stage. You know, why do we love the World Cup and the grandest stage? If they were the only ones that could do it, I don't think we would love it as much. But they're doing something that's accessible to everyone, and to be able to see athletes at any level be able to express that themselves in their own way, it's a beautiful thing, as you guys said.
Yeah. So excellent. So, well, best to all the special needs athletes, and of course, the best to our Canadian soccer lads as they take on South Africa, and hopefully someone else down the road. We'll see what's going on. So, as for us, we're going to be slowing things down just a little bit here. We are at the Register. We're publishing every 2 weeks in the summer. Within the church, things do slow down a little bit during the summer. So we're going to slow down a little with that. We'll be taking next week off because of the Canada Day weekend. But you can catch us again in 2 weeks' time. So with that, we're going to sign off, and I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. I'd like to thank everyone that's tuning in. Couldn't do it without you. So, and of course, to our sponsor, that would be us again, with our very own Missions and Martyrs magazine, which is about the 100th anniversary of the Martyrs Shrine in Midland, Ontario. Go to catholicregister.org/shrine100, call 1-855-441-4077, extension 1 to order your copy. And for all the news from the Catholic world, make sure you go to catholicregister.org. Okay? Thanks very much for tuning in, and we will see you in a couple weeks.